I love watching Westerns, I think, still, because it reminds me of my dad. My dad always loved Western movies. Gunsmoke.
Oh, yeah.
We would watch every
John
week.
Wayne.
Yeah, John Wayne.
All the stereotypes.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Lone Ranger.
Yeah, and that's an important part of, I guess, American cinema history,
Yeah, and
too.
history.
Yeah.
And you can find out about it. The Eiteljorg Museum is actually has an exhibit featuring that, and one of our Boomer reporters has gone to check it out.
Cowboy Michael Atwood.
Johanna Bloom with the Eiteljorg. Pleased to meet you, man.
Good afternoon.
Tell our viewers where we are here and what's going on.
Sure. Well, so the Real West is our latest exhibit here at the Eiteljorg Museum, and that's R-E-E-L, like, you know, a reel of
play
film.
on words.
Yeah, but part of what we're exploring is the way that Westerns have shaped the way we think about the world around us and sort of influenced our own sort of mythology and the romance of you know, that idea of the great Western experience.
And one of the first things that people coming into this exhibit will see is Hi-Ho Silver. We have the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. So we have some costume pieces, including the gun holster and mask that were worn by Clayton Moore when he was playing the Lone Ranger on television.
You show movies.
Yeah, we have our sort of immersive theater space here, which is a great spot to sit down and watch some trailers that we've pulled together. And it's reflective of the broad mix of Westerns that are then talked about in the exhibit as well.
One of my favorite things, obviously over here, hats.
Yes, you can.
Hats are very important to telling the story of Western.
Yes, you really can't underestimate the significance of hats. Obviously, you chose to wear a white hat today.
I did because I'm a good guy.
Yeah, but it's really not that simple, and that's part of what we explore here. So we have, you know, a case of white hats and a case of black hats, but you'll find when you look a little closer that there are heroes and villains mixed into both.
And as we look over here, what about the evolving role of the woman?
Another big theme that we're exploring in this space is diversity and representation in Westerns, and how people have been misrepresented in Westerns as well, and sort of negative stereotypes that have been perpetuated by Westerns. But you know, women are definitely a part of that story.
Music in Westerns, and here we have Gene Autry's Singing Cowboy Guitar.
And the Singing Cowboy films are a great sort of transition point from Westerns that were made primarily for an adult audience to Westerns that were for more of a family audience as well.
We got to talk a little bit about dun 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 dun. That's right. Bonanza. My mother watched Bonanza every week. And here it's put in the context of the Cold War.
Yeah, so you know, the television Westerns really were taking off in the midst of the Cold War era, and the influence of that period of time and the politics and sort of cultural happenings in the world, and it was really the heyday for television Westerns in particular.
As we see here, children they're all dressed as cowboys.
Yeah.
And a cowgirl. And part of the kid-friendly side, right behind us, it's Howdy Doody time.
Yeah, so there were, you know, a number of television series in particular that were geared at younger audiences, so we wanted to explore kind of that influence on kids too.
There's even a science fiction side of Westerns.
Yeah, you know, Westerns are constantly reinventing themselves in order to stay relevant, and one of the ways they do that is by blending with other genre, and sci-fi Westerns in particular, I think, have always been kind of on the margins, but sustaining themselves, doing quite well.
Like Westworld.
Yeah, like the show that's on now.
The new Westworld. Moving over here, we see, again, we're in the Eiteljorg Museum, and we see this Native American experience, and that's something that has surely really evolved over the years to something that today is seen as almost cartoonish and nothing to do with the real West.
Yeah, so the role of Native people in Westerns, you know, it's a complicated history. You're seeing a lot more films now that are using Native actors, Native consultants, Native directors, Native writers. You know, these are all good things in terms of better representation of people in film.
What do you want people to come here and view and take away from all of these years of the real West?
What I really hope is that folks come in here and they're maybe a little surprised. Maybe they find out about a film they didn't know about beforehand, and maybe find a new favorite. If they weren't a fan of Westerns to begin with, maybe they find something that piques their interest and gets them to explore the genre a little more deeply, because it has been so important and influential to us as a culture.
ma'am. Again, pleasure meeting you. Thanks so much for taking us through this wonderful exhibit, The Real West at the Eiteljorg Museum.
Thank you for coming in.
And for Boomer TV, I'm Michael Atwood.